Lahiru Karunaratne. I'm Senior Lecturer at Premier Partners Institute of Management, short form PPIM, and I'm working as Vice President Finance at ADOC Private Limited as well. So, as a responsible institute, we are worried, we are concerned about the healthcare needs of our students as well. Therefore, PPIM has decided to partner with ADOC and provide facilities of ADOC to students and for their families as well. So if I give a brief intro about what is PPIM, PPIM is a renowned organization which gives professional education for ACCA. So it has been decorated with gold status from ACCA UK. And if you move on to ADOC is one of the leading telemedicine applications in Sri Lanka. So which will enable you to consult a doctor in your fingertips. Just through a simple application in your mobile phone, easily you can audio or video consult a doctor. So that's how technology has extended to you. So we are launching our partnership along with this program today. So all the PPIM students can free access unlimited number of consultations from the doctors who are available in the ADOC platform. So today we are going to do a small program. It's closer to the exam, so we want to make sure that all of you have a proper mindset for the exam. So we have a mental health expert here with us, Dr. Kavithra Silva. So doctor, over to you for a small intro about yourself.
Hi everyone, so my name is Dr. Kavithra Silva. I am a medical officer in psychiatry at the National Institute of Mental Health. So I've been practicing psychiatry for the past 15 years. I have currently done my diploma in psychiatry from the Colombo University, plus I have a diploma in psychology and counseling, as well as a diploma in psychotherapy and counseling. So when it comes to mental health, and I've been practicing as a counselor, as a psychotherapist and a psychologist for the past 1 to 15 years, and I've always gathered a lot of knowledge to understand how people think and how it affects people, and how it becomes a problem when it comes to anxiety and other mental disorders. So I'm here today to talk with Lahiru, basically to give you all an understanding of what it is and how to face exams and how to face exams successfully. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation, obviously.
Thank you.
So we have just done a small survey sort of a thing with our students.
Okay.
Just to get an idea about what are the stuff they want to get addressed from a specialist like you.
Right.
So one of the main questions that came up with, actually everyone had this question, that is how to manage exam anxiety.
So the thing is this, now all of us have faced exams, and all of us have been having anxiety and getting stress. So when it comes to stress, when we talk about stress, what is stress is basically we basically are psychological and physical changes that happens due to a perceived threat, right? So all of us, some people will like stress, some people don't like stress. So what anxiety means is when you have a stressful situation, especially when it comes to exams or other things that is going to cause you stress, you will have anxiety symptoms, like you'll have palpitations, you will have sweating, you will have fear of failing exams. All those things will be there. So what you need to understand is having a little bit of anxiety, having a little bit of stress is good, because it makes you drives you to kind of do well, to study, to plan to study, to focus. All those things is good, but too much anxiety might be a problem, and then you start thinking about other things, and then you'll get worrying about things, and it will eventually be a problem that you won't be able to study. Your focus will be affected. So how to manage anxiety? One of the things that you need to, the question was that how to manage anxiety. So what you need to understand is you should not overthink about the exam, especially when it comes to the exam. Don't think you're going to fail, or you don't think that what's going to happen. Most of the students, what happens with them is they tend to overthink about it. Like, they think, okay, what if I disappoint my parents? Like, what if I fail this exam? What about my next career? Am I going to do again? It's a lot of money. All those things are going to be affecting them, and those thoughts kind of blocks us studying also and concentrating also. So one of the things that you should always do is not overthink about that. Only focus on what is important right now and what you're studying right now.
Super. Thank you, Doctor. That was very insightful. And one of the other problems that our students usually face is actually, I haven't faced this personally.
Okay.
I haven't. But usually people tend to get nervous when it is an exam.
Yes.
And they tend to forget whatever they have learned also.
Correct.
So is there any tips or tricks that we can use to manage that?
So again, like the previous question also, the thing is this now. Why we get nervous is the fact that we are thinking about what could happen. Like, we are thinking about what happens in the future. In the sense, we are thinking, what if we fail? Or what if we disappoint our parents? Or what if, I will not be able to continue my career? Or go abroad? Or anything like that. So those thoughts are kind of blocking you to concentrate on what's happening right now, and you get nervous. Being nervous is okay. It's normal. All of us will have at one point be nervous when we are facing exams. It's our normal sympathetic drive. We have this response when we are worried about things, that we will always have a nervous feeling. We'll start having palpitations, we'll feel sweating, and we'll be like nervous, and we can't concentrate. When we get too much nervous and we are overthinking those things, that's why we forget, because we don't give focus to it.
So basically, when I was studying, what I have done is correct, right?
Correct, yes.
I never thought about the result.
Exactly. The whole point is, should never think about the result. If you think about the result, you'll always have a problem of, you will be focused on that, and you will be judging yourself for that. And when you focus on that and judge yourself for that, you eventually have that mind that blocks your thoughts. Your subconscious mind gets blocked, right? And you're eternally having these thoughts, right? When you're having eternally all these thoughts, you have no focus, and you can't give attention and concentration to what you're studying. So why people would say that you're forgetting things is because you are not giving attention, concentration to that subject or to the subject matter. You are just overthinking things, and you're just worried about things, and you're distracting yourself because of that. And then you are studying, but you're not giving attention and concentration into it. So then you kind of forget, and eventually once you finish about a whole chapter of it, you are thinking, okay, I can't remember these things. What has happened? I given 2 hours to it, but I can't remember. Like, that's because half of that hours you have been just thinking, okay, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? When I pass it, or sometimes it's like that. When I pass it, what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to get this, I'm going to buy a bike, I'm going to build a house, I'm going to get married, all those things. You're thinking about good things that can happen in the future. And you're not focused on what you're doing right now. So that's when you forget.
So basically, if you forget about what if and focus on the current situation, that will lead us to a proper result, isn't it?
Exactly, yes.
Great. Then the other thing that most of our students pointed out is that in certain situations, they think that they are studying,
Okay.
but they haven't focused properly.
Right.
So are there any tips or tricks or exercises or whatever that they can follow to enhance their focus?
So it's like this. Now, it depends on person to person. All right. Some people love to study, and they are so driven to study, and they will make time, and they will have a plan, and they will organize themselves. They'll have a timetable, and they will stick to that timetable, and they'll have amount and put highlights and all those things and study. Those people will not have a problem. But there's the rest of the group of people who will always be like a little slipshod, in the sense they will not be very focused, and they will have they get distracted. And some of us, even I, at one point when I was studying, I had the same problem. I would have an issue of not wanting to study because I didn't like the subject matter, and when I was doing A-levels, it was like really boring and all those things. And eventually what I would do is I would either clean the house, or clean my room, or basically go and take something to eat, or all those things, right? So to the tips of it, or basically what you should do is that always focus on a timetable, right? It's always good to have a timetable, but when you're having a timetable, you should have a very lax timetable, not a very strict timetable. When you have a strict timetable, if you're trying to put, like some people are like that, they will try to put as much amount of knowledge they are trying to do, or study a lot, while in the 24 hours at a maximum capacity, which is not possible, because our brains basically can only keep a focus for about maximum 3 to 6 hours. That's why most of these lectures are 1 hour, 2 hours and all those things, because we cannot keep our focus more than a maximum of 2 hours. So what are the tips that I would tell you is that always try to do 1 hour, then take a 15-minute break, then do another 1 hour, then make another 15 minutes break, and always have an idea. Don't target saying that, okay, I'm going to do this amount of studies in this amount of time. Okay, what you need to talk is, okay, today I will study this chapter and I will finish it today, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to do it in 1 hour, it doesn't mean I'm going to do 2 hours, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it in a whole 24 hours. Basically, this is going to be my chapter and I'm going to finish that chapter. If you can do that, it's easier to study.
So basically, the best advice is to go ahead with the
daily
plan, maybe.
Yes, daily plan.
Daily time plan,
yes.
And have bit of splits
right
between the plan that
exactly. Yeah.
And between those splits, you can do whatever the hobbies you want.
Yes. So when you are taking this 15 minutes break, you have to only focus on the time that you want to relax. Just taking a relax of, taking a drink, or listening to some music, or just watching a TikTok video, or whatever it is. Just a 15 minutes break, just to kind of refresh your mind, and you refocus your mind, so that you can go back to that and be able to study.
Great. So the next one is, some of our students are studying.
Okay.
And some of are not just focusing on studies, they are working as well. And some of them are taking care of their family as well.
Yes.
So then there can be so many burdens in their brain.
Correct.
So is there anything that they can do to balance this stuff?
So work-life balance, work-life study balance is very important for most of us, right? What we tend to do is that we are always trying to put too many things in our plate within the period of 24 hours or within the period of a day, right? And we are always distracted this way, that way, and we're thinking about the job at the same time, thinking about our parents, thinking about studying. All those things are always going to take time, right? What's important, or what is most important, is to prioritize. It's like you have to prioritize what you need to do, and you have to prioritize according to the time, according to the moment. Don't plan whole 2-3 days ahead. You just have to plan today, tomorrow, and day after. That's all you need to focus on. What happens today, what happens tomorrow, what happens the day after. Not think like a whole week ahead, because as soon as you think a whole week ahead, there are so many things that are going to go wrong, right? There are things, we will have issues. I mean, in this country, this is such that we can't make a plan, right? When we make a plan, everything goes, changes. The next moment it changes. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of people are just going abroad is because they can't deal with the changes that is happening in this country. So when it comes to balancing out your life and your work and the family environment, you have to prioritize what is important. If you take the day, plan out the day. Just say, okay, this is my time to study, this is my time to give time for my family, this is my work time, and just segregate it and organize it in such a way so that you all can only focus on one day and next day and the next day, and it's easier that way.
Basically, to have a short-term plan will be
easy,
much more effective rather than having long-term.
Correct. If as soon as you make long-term plans, especially in this country, it's really difficult to come to terms with it, because the plans will always change. It will always change. Now, people who are planning to do A-levels at this age have to do it the next year, right? People who had to do university had to do another year, right? There's so much of a gap that is happening. So if you do a long-term plan, you will have difficulties, because then you will get frustrated. And when you get frustrated, because every time you make a plan, you will get frustrated and emotional, and because you will feel that you are unachieving these things, and that will cause you frustration and anxiety, and then you'll go into depression, and then you'll feel like enough is enough, it's enough studying, enough living, all those things, and eventually you have to take in treatment for depression.
I agree with you.
So
please go ahead.
So it's always best to prioritize what you need to prioritize and have a balance. Most important thing is always have a balance.
So you have discussed a lot about how to access the exams properly, and are there any other small mind mapping sort of, or any?
So when it comes to exams, there's something called the PQRST method. Have you heard of the PQRST method? So the PQRST method, there are people who are going to study in different styles, right? Some people are auditory ones, some people are visual, right? Because when they are studying, they need to hear those things. They need to hear these lectures. Now, some people will like listening to lectures because then it goes into your mind. Some people likes to read it, underline it, make short notes, all those things. So depending on your style of studying, you have to figure out how you want to practice it or practice studying, right? So PQRST method is one way, right? Pre is for preview, right? You just preview, okay, what you need to study, right? Then the Q is basically questions. What are the questions that are there? Okay, what are the questions, past papers or whatever questions that are there? Then you read, right? R is read, right? Then S is summarize. Then you take whatever the reading and then you summarize it of whatever the question, and you summarize, okay, this is going to be the answer. The T is the test, right? Then you can test yourself and answer these questions, and that way you will know what you have to study and the amount you need to study. And of course, every time you have that, you do those questions, it's always good to send to a lecturer or a teacher and get a validation or understanding of if you have done enough and right.
Great. Nice insight about a new theory that I was also not aware about. So maybe I can do some stuff with my lecturing also.
Yeah.
Thanks for the insight about that. Yeah. And another common problem that we encounter with students is this thing I personally encountered. Recently, I met a student, so we have some exams coming on.
Okay.
Recently, I met one of the students, and he looks like very depressed. And when I looked into his eyes, those are really, these are red and bolded.
Okay.
So when I asked from him what happened, he was like, "Sir, I'm so stressed up with the exam, and I can't sleep." And I just felt not having sufficient sleep and all will also lead to a
Correct.
bad health habit, and anyway going to have a major impact on his result as well.
Correct.
So any tips that you can give to control these stuff?
So what are students, or basically not students, all of us, most of us, I think our practice has become now since the starting of mobile phones and smartphones is the fact that we tend to not sleep at night. Okay, we are always into the devices, either watching a movie or going through Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. What we are doing is that we are always in the night, when you get into the bed, we are always swiping, right? That's one of the most bad habits that we have actually started to practice, right? And most of the students also have that problem because they can't sleep, because the problem with the screen, it has a blue light. Okay, I mean, you have heard it in so many places. You would have heard it in TV and everybody, and in Facebook and everywhere, that this blue screen gives your brain a little bit of energy, basically stimulates your brain. So when you try to go to sleep, it basically is still stimulating, and when you finish this thing, it takes about a half an hour for the brain to come back to normal, to the stimulation to go down, so that you can sleep. So, and most people tend to also try to study in the night. They think that they are very productive in the night. If you are not productive in the night, that's a different story. Some people are people who study in the night, get up sleep the morning and do the same thing. Some will need to get up early morning around 3 or 4 in the morning and then do the studies. Depends on what you want. But the key is, if you don't sleep enough, and you need to sleep 7 to 6 to 7, 8 hours, at least a minimum a day. If you don't do those sleep, and when you are stressed, you don't sleep. And one of the problems is you don't sleep. So if you don't sleep, you eventually come to a problem where you can't focus, you can't study, all those things. So important when you're going to sleep, the most important thing when you're going to sleep is to have a certain set time to sleep. Okay, you have to always have a set time to sleep. Whatever you do, like when you're going to a job or while you're studying, if you're going home by 8 o'clock or 8:30, you can always say that, okay, you can have your dinner, all those things, and then you can study something for about 1 hour, and then you can just have a half an hour break or whatever, and tell yourself, okay, you're going to sleep at 11 and you're going to get up at 6. That way you have basically 7 hours sleep. So you have to practice always to do it in a routine. Like every day has to be a routine. And if you practice a routine, and when especially during exam time, if you practice a routine, it's easier.
So basically, we have to use technology wisely.
Technology wisely. Always try to utilize the phone, or you stop using the phone at least an hour before you sleep.
That's a good health tip.
It's always a health tip.
So I think we can use technology for new products like Audoc and all, right? Where we can take care of our health.
Correct, yes. Audoc is a place where you can always talk about mental health and well-being. I'm always online on Audoc, and anytime I'm on demand. Basically, there is anytime people can always channel me through Audoc and find out, talk to me about anything that they are worried about.
Super. And the other thing is, doctor, most of the students are getting pressured or depressed is the peer pressure, family and the peer pressure.
Okay.
So most of them what they say is, I don't want to do 2 subjects together.
Right.
But my parents and my peers, my friend is doing 2 subjects, so my parents are pushing me to do 2 subjects.
Correct.
Whereas I feel I don't have the capability or the capacity to go ahead with that. So is there anything that we can help our students on that aspect?
So if the student is understanding that his capacity is just one subject, he can only focus on one subject. There are people who are going to always study 2 subjects, 3 subjects. They can do 2 multiple exams at the same time and they can still be all right. But there are some people who are not going to be able to do that because their brain energy and their capacity is not that, right? And it's nothing wrong with that. It's the amount that the way we study, it's the amount we can focus on. It's how our memory is. All those things depends on amount we can study. But what's important to students always is that never get into a peer pressure. Never do things just because the other person is doing something. Never do things just because the parents are forcing you to do those things, right? It's always best to always have a communication with your parents or peers or whoever to say that I'm going to do it the way I want. I'm going to do it at my pace. Whether it's going to take me 3 months to 6 months to 1 year to complete this course, doesn't matter. That is the time I'm going to take it. Because if I'm going to get stressed, say for example, now you're doing this course which is 2-year course, some people will want to do it in a year's time. It's available, it can be done, right? But some will want it 2 years and they will take their slower progression to get there, right? It's not a matter of doing the exam or doing something. It's a matter of getting what you need to get at a very good mental health or not. If you do exams and you get stressed and just because of peer pressure, you eventually get into a situation where you can't sleep and you get frustrated and you get depression. Then the whole 1-2 years of studying something is all gone to waste, right? So don't do things just because other people are expecting you to do those things. You have to always have an understanding what you want, the amount you want to do, and the way you want to do it, and you have to take your own time to it. It's okay if you take 2 years to get a graduation. It's okay if you take 3 years to finish some course or something like that. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to ask you, okay, whether you are going, how long you took to study that exam and how many tries you took or whatever it is. Eventually, when you have like a business, what is the
finance,
right? So eventually, when you get this finance and analyst and stuff like that, or the qualifications, when you go to the job, they are not going to ask you whether how long you took to do the exam, what are your capacity, or they're not going to ask you. They know that you have this degree and then you have the qualifications to do this job. That's what's important, right? Nobody's going to ask us what are A-level results now, right? I'm a doctor right now. I have MBBS. Nobody's going to ask what my A-level results, my O-level results, how did I do my O-levels? Nobody's going to ask that, right? So it's like that. Nobody, eventually it's not important even. What is important is to make sure that you do things the way you want it and to practice it the way you want it and get there in your own time frame.
Great. And this is something that we observed as lecturers from the students.
Okay.
So that is about some people are self-motivating and that builds up their self-confidence.
Correct.
For some it works other way around. They are doing self-negative stuff and they are getting demotivated and pressurized.
Correct.
So what's the advice that we can give on this self-speaking story?
So when it comes to any students, what's most important is self-care, right? The more negative thoughts you bring in, the more negative thoughts you'll accumulate. The more positive thoughts you bring in, the more positive thoughts you'll always have. What we are always trying to do, and our society and our current generation of students, right, the current 20s students basically are very goal directed. Like, they are target driven. They want to achieve things very fast, right? They want to be having a car when they're 25. They want to finish their degree by 24. They want to build a house by 26, and they want to get married by 27. All those things are there, right? So when they are target driven and goal driven, they eventually they want to do things in a very certain time period, right? And that brings out frustrations when you don't achieve the way you want to achieve. And then you get into these negative thoughts thinking that I am not good enough. I can't do this. Why am I doing this? I can't do this. I'm incapable of doing it, right? So when that happens, we are bringing in negative thoughts. And as soon as you bring in negative thoughts, you self-doubt yourself and your self-esteem goes down, right? So when your self-esteem goes down, you can't study because then you're always thinking, I will fail, right? When you think that, eventually you will believe that you are going to fail, right? And when you go to an exam with that mindset of having negative thoughts and thinking, okay, I'm going to fail, even the easy questions you won't remember. What happens is you will have the paper, then you will have a very difficult question, then you will think, okay, I can't know this because I haven't studied this, so I can't remember this, right? And then you will have that mindset, and even the easy questions you'll miss. You won't write those easy questions also. And then it becomes like a vicious cycle. When it becomes like a vicious cycle, eventually you can't, time's gone, you haven't done much, and you will obviously fail the exam, right? So if you do that, and if you're always in that mindset, it's not going to help anyone. So always understand what you need to do is to always tell yourself, no, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to study the maximum I can study. I'm going to try the best of my abilities. I'm going to study as much as I possibly can. It doesn't matter if I'm going to fail. It doesn't matter if what other people are going to think about me. I'm just going to focus and study, and the results will show itself. If I do enough, then I know I will pass. That should be your mindset.
Basically, it's all about self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
If you don't trust about your answer, why should the examiner should trust your answers?
Exactly, yes. Yeah. So it's always practice, and always study, and always try to understand that you will do the best you can, and eventually it will be what you want to be.
So one last question. So like I said, exams are nearby.
Okay.
So what would be your last opinion for our students for their exam preparation?
So to answer your question about what would I give, the last thing I would say for the students who are studying this time for the exam, I'm sure y'all are going to do well. What y'all should understand is that it's okay to fail, right? It's a matter of doing it again. Don't have a mindset saying that you are going to fail. What you have to be is, you should be sure of yourself. Study as much as you possibly can. Be confident on what you are going to do, right? And practice. Try the PQRST method. Always try to go according to the subject matter. Try to do maximum past papers. do everything in your power just to make sure that you're going to pass. And don't think whether you're going to fail or pass. You just have to give your best shot, and be focused, be mindful, practice being here and now, practice being in this moment, study, only think about what you need to study. Don't try to think about the future, don't try to think about the past, don't think about what's around you, don't look at the environment about what you have to do for your family, or what your girlfriend expects or the boyfriend expects, right? All those things are not relevant. You need to figure out how many months you have for this exam, or few weeks that you have this exam. Target the amount of days that you have to figure, see how much you have left over, then focus, have a plan, have a timetable, figure out what you need to figure. If you are weak in one thing, focus on that now, and then you can do it next time. If you're good at something, keep it for the last part, and then just do it. Just be positive that you are going to pass, and once you do that, everything will turn out fine. And all the best for the exam.
Thank you, Doctor. So the whole objective of this program was to give some insights from an expert on how to tackle your exams properly, how to manage your time, how to manage your mindset, and how to face your exams in a confident manner. So if you have any problems that you are facing with your mental problems that you are facing when it goes to the exam, maybe pressure, whatever, you can always consult doctor through order. It's the simple app, so you can easily consult him. So he will definitely help you out on all your problems. He's an expert on those stuff. So thanks again, doctor, and wish you all the very best for everyone who's sitting for the exam.
Thank you.
Doctor.
Thank you.